Hello and welcome to a special edition of The Big Fight, coming to you from the banks of the Nagin Lake. As you can see, this is Srinagar, and for me personally, it's always such a pleasure to come back here. I started my reporting career from here in Kashmir, so it's always great to be back. And we are here in a week and in a month where we have actually seen something happening that some would consider fairly dramatic. The sort of voter turnouts that we've seen, the sort of enthusiasm among voters in many areas. Obviously, numbers slightly lower in some of the separatist bastions like Sopore, or 37% in places like Pulwama or Tral. Those are really interesting numbers. So just what is happening? What does that turnout mean? Some of the triumphalism has been a bit overplaced, but what exactly does that turnout mean? And also, by the way, what's going to happen? Who's going to win? Who is going to form the government? Those are just some of the issues that we are going to be covering. We have an audience of young people here whom we are going to be turning to and getting all sorts of comments and questions from them as well. But with us here, we have Khalid Jahangir, who's a spokesperson of the BJP. I have to say, if somebody had told me 5 years ago I'd be sitting on the banks of Nagin with the BJP spokesperson discussing the elections, I wouldn't have believed it. So it's good to have you here. Agha Syed Rohullah, who's from the National Conference, great to have you with us. Nizamuddin Bhatt, representing the PDP. We have Kuratullain Masoodi, who's a social activist, also all with us. And over the course of this particular show, I will be taking you to many of the places that I went to while I was here in Srinagar, to Sopore, to Baramulla, to Sangrama. And also I did speak to Umar Abdullah and others in some length. I'll be playing some of that for you as well. But before I do any of that, let me just kick off with you. The numbers, the turnout. Is that one of the highlights so far, and what are you expecting in Srinagar tomorrow?
Exactly, those are the highlights, and credit goes to BJP, I guess. Because last thing the Kashmiris would want is a BJP chief minister or BJP government ruling the state. Extensive campaigning.
Does that mean you're not going to support them in case they get close to the numbers?
Never.
Will you take support from them?
National Conference has been categoric. Never ever National Conference is going to support or going to take support from BJP.
Even from outside?
We'll prefer to sit in opposition rather than supporting BJP.
Would you take the credit for the high turnout?
Of course, yes. The people of Jammu and Kashmir want to change now. They are coming in huge numbers because they want to end of the family Raj. These politicians have been the subservient to a particular family, which people of Kashmir are well aware. They are not.
That's not quite what he's saying. What he's saying is that they are coming out to vote because they want to make sure that the BJP doesn't win a single seat.
I don't think so. I don't think so. We have seen the Prime Minister rally just a few days back. We have seen the whole Kashmiri coming and watching in the TV in the homes also. So this vote is going for a development of the people of Kashmir.
And I have to say that with that sort of a turnout, and especially if that happens again in Srinagar, it means that the chances of the BJP actually winning seats in the valley go down, because your best chance of winning a seat in the valley would have been in a situation of a boycott. In Srinagar, for example, if in Habba Kadal or some such place there's a complete boycott, maybe the BJP could swing through. Now with this sort of a turnout, the chances of your winning are low.
No, we don't think in that way. We think that majority of the people should come for the vote, and that's a win for the democracy.
But sir, what do you think is behind the sort of numbers that we've been seeing?
There was one big reason that we should have relief which a good government can give us. That's what motivated youth and others to come out in large numbers. Change for a better option where we can get relief. There are political issues too where BJP gets in. That's a contributory factor. The political issue basically is the identity of the state. The BJP is seen red rag to the bull.
One of the factors why perhaps the Jamaat cadre came out also to vote, and
that of course
might be a factor which goes in your favor.
A silent vote. This time we have seen Jamaat people coming out, not their activists, functionaries, their sympathizers, of course, for certain reasons. Not that they would see that Kashmir issue is resolved.
But you wouldn't be happy that you wouldn't be unhappy that they were coming out.
Is resolved, but they definitely see that it can show a headway. If there is a good government, if there is a facilitating government, if there is a responsive government, that will respect the sentiments too.
Okay, Kuratullain, your take on what's happening?
We have seen a lot of pain and so much of distress in these 6 years. National Conference government has been an absolute mess. We expected a lot from Mr. Umar Abdullah since he was a young chief minister. Youth wanted to connect to him and so many other things. But it was a failure and we could not connect to him. There were so many things, so many human rights.
So you're saying that the factor is a simple, good old anti-incumbency which we keep talking about in all parts?
No, I mean there are two factors I want to mention. Number one is that we want to get rid of NC government. Number two is that we don't want BJP in Valley.
Okay, let me just start taking you across to some of the packages. So, when I was there on the day of polling, and in some of the areas which actually people had not voted in their entire lives. So I did put that question to them. Why are you voting and why are you voting for the first time ever? So let's start by going across to Sangrama, where there was a decent turnout in some booths that had almost never seen voting. And some of the men out there never voted before. This is why they said they were voting this time. आप लोग यहाँ वोट ज़्यादा नहीं डालते हैं, बॉयकॉट का असर यहाँ पड़ता है?
जी बॉयकॉट होता है हमेशा यहाँ पे। इस बार हमने अपना कैंडिडेट चेंज करना है क्योंकि उन्होंने हमारा जो लास्ट जो हमारा एक्स MLA है उसने हमारे लिए कुछ भी नहीं किया है आज तक, हमने उसको देखा भी नहीं है, कुछ जीरो भी नहीं किया हमने।
तो आप लोग मुझे बता रहे थे कि 28 साल से यहाँ लोग वोट कम पड़ते हैं, लोग बॉयकॉट ही करते हैं। इस बार क्या कोई लोकल कैंडिडेट है? जी गुलाम अजीम भट्ट साहब है हमारा, PC का कैंडिडेट है, हम उसके लिए अब इस टाइम वोट डाल रहे हैं। और इस बार जब आप वोट डालने आए तो क्या उम्मीद है आपको, क्योंकि आपने पहले तो वोट डाला नहीं है कभी?
इंशाल्लाह उम्मीद अच्छी है कि PC कामयाब हो जाएगी,
कि इस बार अब फर्क पड़ेगा।
इस बार फर्क पड़ेगा।
जी सर।
तो आप लोगों में से किसी ने भी पहले वोट डाला है?
जी मैंने नहीं डाला पहले, कभी नहीं डाला मैंने। इस बार फर्स्ट टाइम में डाल रहा हूँ। जो हमारा जो वो कैंडिडेट है उसने कुछ नहीं किया, मैंने पहले कहा उसने जीरो किया है, यहाँ पे कुछ भी नहीं किया, हमने उसको देखा तक भी नहीं है, सिर्फ फोटो पे मैंने परसों देखा, उसमें हम रिले पे थे तो मैंने उसको फोटो पे देखा है। अब हमने इरादा किया हम अपना कैंडिडेट चेंज करेंगे बस।
तो आपने अपनी जिंदगी में पहली बार वोट किया आज, कैसा लगा आपको वोट डालना?
अच्छा लगा सर,
चेंज के लिए हमने वोट डाला है।
वोट फॉर चेंज सो PC के लिए हमने वोट डाला है।
Is that something which you think becomes a big factor? Local people, local issues, and it's essentially about what's happening in your neighborhood, and that's why also a big change perhaps from the parliament.
Absolutely, there are always multiple factors. You can't single out a factor and then say this is the only factor why people came out. Local candidates always put a major factor why people locally come out and vote. But that thing alone can't be a decisive factor. Whenever polling percentage has gone down, it has always put a dent on National Conference endeavours. Whenever polling percentage goes high, it means National Conference cadre and workers, which is the largest cadre base in the state, comes out. And in that case, National Conference is a beneficiary.
You see, it's masses coming out, and they always come out for a better option, not for a lesser evil. And better option is definitely PDP in the given circumstances.
What I also thought was very interesting was that a number of smaller parties come out, and a number of people coming out almost as independents and as smaller parties, trying their hands in electoral politics for the first time ever. In fact, in Sopor, which is one of the most interesting of the constituencies, interesting because this is the place that in the parliamentary election saw just about 1% voting, and suddenly 30% coming out for Sopor is actually quite big. It's almost Big Bang. And I did meet somebody out there who voted for the first time ever in his life, and he voted for himself because he decided to stand as a candidate. Let me just show you some of that. Here's a very interesting person we have with us, one of the candidates out here, voted for the first time and for yourself, right?
Yeah, I voted for the first time and for myself.
So Sajjad Sheikh, you're here, you never voted in your life. You decided to contest this time, why?
I have decided to contest because I wasn't able to save my people from harassment of forces, from arbitrary arrests. I'd like to share an example. Few days back when I decided I'll contest elections, there is one area which is around 5 to 8 kilometers from here, maybe 4 kilometers extra.
Right.
Rampur and Rajpur. We still have people who army takes up for the labor and doesn't pay them. So
But there'll always be people who will look at you and saying, why are you contesting? Why go for electoral politics? Why not just boycott? Traditionally, Sopor has always seen a boycott. This time looks different. I'm looking at the people around you, they're all voting.
I must say that the party on whose ticket I'm contesting is Awami Ittihad Party, led by Engineer Rashid and MLA Langate. His major aim has to save people from harassment. And if in case I have to save my people, I need to have authority. You talk to anybody around, the forces go on rampage. They take anybody for a ride, and they take people along with their brothers, sisters to the camp and make them work for a week and don't pay them. If you don't trust me, you can come with me. And my major objective is to save people from those harassments, from tortures. And
Did you find it tough to tell people to come out and vote this time?
it's really tough because people do not have faith in the electoral system here. That's why people have always boycotted, and 80% have abstained and 20% have come out.
But this time there are people voting.
Oh yes, they have.
Is this something that you also are feeling, that for the first time in this election, there is an entire range of people who've never bothered too much about electoral politics before, but who are? They're getting into the debate, they're getting into the discussion. They're beginning to feel that by voting I can make a difference to my own life.
Of course, they want development. At the same time, they have suffered at the hands of NC in last 6 years. If I give you examples, the very first day when Umar Abdullah joined as a chief minister, on the second day, a boy got killed outside his house. He was killed by CRPF. He was a deaf and dumb person and he was killed. Then there are so many examples. A carpenter, after a month, a carpenter was killed in his own house in Sopore. Then there is the Asya Nilofer case. We have gone through such hell.
Okay, so examples of that. Are you?
Well, I don't take.
What does it take for a party like the BJP, with absolutely no cadre, no base, no presence really in the valley? What does it take for you to come out? I have to say, I've been actually quite amazed at the sort of your effort you made to get your hoardings and your buntings and your pictures up. Outside Sangrama, I saw a giant hoarding of Narendra Modi, which again would have astonished me if you told me that just a few months ago.
See, we have the Prime Minister.
Sorry? Paid hoarding, of course.
But it's
everybody pays in the election, so there is no like a social worker that we don't pay. I don't take on Kurat's what she is telling that we don't want BJP here. It can be her personal. I am also a Kashmiri, and as a Kashmiri I want BJP government, a vibrant BJP government in Jammu and Kashmir, to end this Maharaja type of governance in Jammu and Kashmir, which have been hoodwinking by these people from the Gupkar road. They had been, I don't know why Nizam Saab is telling that they need a new model. Mufti Saad has been the part of Congress. He was a home minister. I don't know, I didn't understand what government means from them. They had been ruling from 30, 40 years, and they are telling that we want a new government. I don't understand what are the plans are for the Jammu and Kashmir. The people of Kashmir, the young youth of Kashmir, they want to change.
So a lot of this is coming down, as you were hearing, to what is the role that the NC has played, and is there an anti-incumbency against the Chief Minister Umar Abdullah, who did win 6 years ago. A lot of expectations on him, just what happened. So I did catch up with Umar Abdullah to put some of these questions to him and to see what he makes of everything that's happening.
This assembly turnout is higher than it was in the previous assembly elections, and I think there are a number of factors responsible for that, but if I was to tell you that I was expecting numbers like this, I think that would be an exaggeration.
And do you think the same will be repeated in Srinagar?
Well,
because it's very important for you. You could win a lot of seats from Srinagar.
Srinagar will be higher. It's not going to set any new records, but it's definitely not going to be the sort of really low parliament election type turnout.
Well, I guess people are already starting to wonder what the permutations and combinations could be after counting day. It doesn't look as if anyone's getting an absolute majority. So any thoughts of which way it could all stack up?
No, none whatsoever. I'm not even thinking that far ahead. As far as I'm concerned, my be-all and end-all starts and begins at the 23rd of December. I will wait to see what the results look like, and then start speculating about what is or what isn't possible.
When you look back at the last few years, I mean, obviously you've had the floods just right now, which is unfortunate for you. It came just before the elections. But anything else you think you could have done differently? I've heard you talking about 2010 and you wish that stone throwing had been handled differently. Any other regrets? Any other things you would have liked to have done differently?
Well, I think under the circumstances, we've done the best that we can do. Militancy is at an all-time low. Tourism is at an all-time high. A fair amount of development work has happened. Whatever support we got from the Government of India, we've put to the best use possible. Yes, I would have preferred not to have had to deal with a summer like 2010. I definitely would have preferred not to have to deal with an aftermath of the Afzal Guru execution. But those were situations that came about, and one had to deal with them.
But the things that were in your control, you still
as always, when you go out into Kashmir, when I've been interacting with voters, what is it that they're looking at? They'll come up with the same issues like employment and corruption and roads.
There's no end to these problems. I mean, as much as I might wish to have a state with 0% unemployment, that's not going to happen. Have we done as much as we could to raise employment levels? Yes, we have. As I said, tourism is the biggest source of employment in the valley. And we've taken tourism from 20 lakhs in the government before my time over 6 years to 55 lakhs during this government just into the valley. Now these are all local people who earn from tourism. So while obviously people would like to see more government jobs created, that isn't possible. But employment avenues, employment opportunities have been created. Development has taken place.
Well, when you're talking about tourism, you're almost sounding a bit like Narendra Modi. Not that he coined tourism before you frown. What has been the impact of the BJP in these elections? Has that been one of the reasons for the high turnout, and in the valley in particular?
I think there has been a bit of a reaction. It would be silly on my part to deny that. There has been a bit of a reaction to this whole Mission 44. The fact that very early in the campaign it became apparent that the BJP was counting on a boycott in a number of seats so that they could open up their account in the valley, which now seems increasingly unlikely.
All right, that was Omar Abdullah, the present Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir. Let's see whether he will remain that or not in just a few weeks. I want to now start coming to all of you, young people out there. What is your sense of how much enthusiasm, excitement, interest there is in these elections? And also what you think might be happening in Srinagar?
I just want to make it clear that people are coming out for Roti Kabra Makan because of the floods. They're being affected very, very badly. And no government has worked. I think the only people who work here are the NGOs and the youth. And we want that to change. We want the government to take place of the NGO. Lot of funds are slapped on our faces on the name of Kashmir's development. No, nothing goes anywhere. The Udan project, it just tapped on Kashmiri's name. Secondly, recently Sushma Swaraj said that Gita should be made the National Book of India. They're hitting the basic concept of democracy, that is sovereignty. How can we believe in a BJP government when they're hitting sovereignty in a Muslim-dominated case?
I mean, of course, that Sushma Swaraj comment got a lot of heated reactions in all parts of the country, not just here in the Kashmir Valley.
Individual comment can be taken forward. I don't think being a Muslim, if I tell that Quran should be made in a state status, I don't think what Sushma said, she might be right in her place as per her religion. I don't think we should have more debate on it. I don't think so. It's welcome. It's no issue.